Greetings, everyone. Live chat is currently unavailable. I might have done something in the settings to not make chat available. That's fine. Greetings. Welcome back to Saturday Morning Cartoons. Shanga here, multiverse historian, showrunner of the Ancestors Writers Room. And I did decide to switch up my broadcast schedule to just Saturdays and not during the week. So I'm going to try that. So this is my version of a live ancestor talk show. So we interview ancestors from the Ancestors Writers Room about timely topics. And today is the equinox. So equinox blessings to everyone tuning in. And today I want to talk to the equinox. I just want to talk to this whole energy of this day during this live talk show. So what I'm going to do is invite an ancestor or ancestors from my Ancestors Writers Room to come through and just tell a story. Tell a story. What story do you want to tell today? Just a little story. Nothing too big or elaborate, like I have a whole podcast where I'm unfolding a very big, deep, elaborate story that I'm kind of calling under this umbrella magical reality TV for the revolution. It's in podcast form right now. This big story has, there's so many ways that it'll grow into an animated series, Broadway, off-Broadway musical, because maybe we're not going to do it within the container of Broadway, but something as big as Broadway. So it can grow into so many different things, right? But today, let's just not have to go that big. Let's just tell a small story for this little YouTube live. And in the story that we're going to channel, there's going to be medicine. There's going to be something, there's going to be a teaching in there. There's going to be something important for us to sit with, receive, experience. There's just medicine in this story that I'm about to share that is important for this day, this time, this equinox, September 21st, 2024. And by the way, I have no idea what's going to come through. In the last few videos, I kind of tuned into the energy before I sat down, but I didn't today. So we're just going to see what happens. But before I do that, I want to take a few deep breaths together. So wherever you're watching from, wherever you are, just take this moment with me to breathe and settle back into your body, because I want to be able to receive the stories from that place. All right, so we're going to take 5 breaths, one for your heart, one for your spirit, one for your body, one for your mind, and one for your life, right? So your life, your essence, could say your soul, but I want to say your life, your whole entire life, okay? So let's start with the first breath. This is first breath for your heart. So just tune in and feel that breath. Take that breath for your heart. Okay. Second breath for your spirit. Third breath for your body. Fourth breath for your mind. Fifth breath for your life. All right. So tell me or reflect for yourself. Did anything come up for you when you were breathing into each of those directions? Um, for me, it was interesting because I saw colors in each direction. So when I breathed into the heart, it was blue. When I breathed into the spirit, it was like silver, white, kind of like a silvery white. And then I breathed into the body and it was purple. Um, and then I breathed into the mind, and first it was red. And then it kind of went into orange, and then right at the end, it clicked, it shifted right into yellow. And then, is that 4? Yeah. And then the 5th one, life, it was a rainbow. So even this is like a story, right? It's an interpretation. I just said story at 6:13. That's my birthday. Um, right. So for me, it's a self-assessment, right? When you can do this breathing exercise and you just very, very easeful, quick way to self-assess before you start something. If you're a writer or a creator, self-assess before you sit down to write. And so you know where you're at. And it is a way to hold yourself and your audience accountable to the medicine that wants to flow through you, to how it's going to flow through you today. And I was like, I really do want to do this on YouTube, right? Because people on YouTube are just flying by, right? And some people are going to what's it called? Like, stop listening, right? They're gonna stop the video, they're gonna go do something else as soon as I say, "Let's stop and breathe," because they're like, "Oh, I don't wanna stop and breathe, I just wanna watch a video," right? So, when I'm inviting people into my sacred space, which I'm happy to do on YouTube, but I'm like, I also, um, wanna hold a sacred space if I'm gonna share anything from my medicine, right? And that's a way of holding your audience accountable, right? Is that, like, if you know you're sharing something sacred with a community, you want to make sure that the people who are receiving it can receive it. And that breathing exercise is such a simple way to do that, right? Because what I did was I'm like tuning in to the frequency, the the place on the altar that I'm currently sitting, which I've been calling the heart of a broken heart, which is unbroken. That's where my medicine is flowing out of when it's at its greatest expression, right? And so, in order to share that with people, you want to be able to share it with people who can receive it. That way, you can receive something back. Um, and that's, I think, important to remember because the mind sometimes will be like, well, people won't listen if I ask them to slow down, right? If I ask them to just sit with where I really want to sit right now, people will drop off. Good. Yeah, let them, because you really want to be able to share from an honest and genuine space and let people leave. It's a way that people self-select out of your container, so you don't have to worry about, people coming in and having like not so great experiences and then you have to leave, right? So that is just a lesson for sacred space holding, right? In whatever kind it is, not just on YouTube, but if you're doing an offering, and even if you're writing, even if you're like, this is just my personal practice for today, um, you know, you want to be able to invite in the ancestors that want to express through you like the most clearly and beautifully, and you want to create a safe space for them. Um, so this practice of self-assessment is really important in whatever you're doing. And then, when you tune into each part of, like, I'm calling it the directions, right? Because I work with an altar that is about the northeast, southwest, center directions, right? And then we have, like, parts of the body, parts of, your holistic body that is, associated with directions. So it helps me tune into, like, what's going on in my heart body, what's going on in my spirit body. And I kind of do, define spirit and soul differently. Um, we can maybe talk about that at a different time. But there's your heart body, your spirit body, your mental body, your physical body, and then your holistic body, which, you could call your soul, your essence, you could call it your medicine, yourself, the medicine itself, or you could just call it your life, right? So, yeah, so when I'm doing this self-assessment, I'm like, okay, um, heart is blue. So it's grief. It's holding grief, which makes a lot of sense on the equinox, right? This is a moment of like releasing that grief. Where did I go next? Spirit was like white. So the silver is set. So there's something about my spirit that really needs like that ease of movement, White silver is very like, yeah, it can move easily through many different environments. It's not really tied down. It's not heavy. Um, it can move and express itself really easily. And, that just goes back right to what I was saying, right? Like when you're amongst community that can receive you easily, like your spirit is happy. Like that's kind of what my self assessment is right now, right? And so that's what I did with the whole breathing exercise. I made sure that the space was somewhere where my spirit could just like speak freely, express freely, move freely. Okay. So that was already there. And then we had purple on the body. I, associate purple with royalty, um, not colonial kind of royalty, ancient wisdom, mastery. It's like royalty when you feel just like I feel like I see a body that's just like a waterfall of gold spilling out of them. Your ancestral wealth, the wealth that you came into this world with that is belongs to you that can never be taken away. Like, so that's, for me in the physical body, it's sort of saying like, um, remember the royalty of your body. hmm Remember to treat your body um, like who kings and queens used to be. Um, and for me, that's a very important lesson. That's like probably my like lifelong lesson is that I'm learning to honor the fact that I chose to be human in this lifetime. Because like right when I was born, I was like, I'm like, did I do this again? I decided to be a human again? Why? Don't know. This is weird. So, mm, I want to say like this is some of the medicine coming up for the equinox right now. This is like this is what this equinox is about. It's about for those of us who were confused from get-go of as to why we decided to be human this time around. We're entering an era, a chapter of our life where we are truly remembering a sincere reason for why we are here. There's layers and layers and layers upon reasons of why we would want to be here, right? But I know for me, this last year especially has been like, oh, I found, okay, it's losing the reason and finding it again. It's like, okay, I find it. Oh, I went somewhere deeper. And now I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to be here anymore. Like, what am I doing here? Like, existential crisis kind of stuff. And it's just been delayering, delayering, delayering. And you get somewhere and you get it and you remember, and then you lose it. And then you go to a deeper place and you find a deeper reason. Like, that's just like, that's kind of been my life. And that's been my year for sure. Like, in a very pronounced way, in a way where I'm just, kind of observing it almost more than I'm experiencing it. Like, I'm experiencing it, but I'm like, "Oh, again? Okay." Like, kinda understand what's happening. Um, but, it's because, we've been talking about how to close, I did a post yesterday on my Instagram that kind of talked a little bit about how do we close Pluto and Capricorn in a good way as cosmic Earth stewards. And I'm writing my next podcast episode is also about that. That's the title. How do we close Pluto and Capricorn in a good way? And that is where we are, right? It's closing Pluto and Capricorn is bringing us to this deeper place where we're like, whoosh, remembering the most sincere of sincere reasons as to why we're here, specifically this body, this mind, this lineage, um, this time, this time period. You could have chosen a lot of different time periods. You could have chosen a lot of different dimensions, but you chose this one. Why? And we're finding the most sincere of sincere reasons. And I think for a lot of us, it's like the seed is there. The seed is there, and it's using this word. It's just dying to be watered. It's dying to be nurtured. It's dying to be held. And I'm phrasing it like that specifically because I think there's a feeling of like, I'm dying, right? Like, the grief is so much that I'm dying. The being here is so much. The witnessing is so much that I'm dying. I'm dying. I'm dying. This is a huge reckoning for those of us who are really tuned in. I think because I personally been feeling this, and for those of us who are tuned in, I'd be interested, to hear how people are really doing, right, in their emotional, psychological, spiritual bodies, right? Um, are you feeling this, right? Are you feeling like I'm dying? And when you hear that voice, when you feel that energy in your body and your system, I think it's about the seed that is dying to be watered, dying to be nurtured, dying to be held. Those three words: water it, nurture it, hold it. Water it, nurture it, hold it. I hear chanting, water it, nurture it, hold it. It's like my ancestors. I have a circle. Um, there's some ancestors that I have that appear as a circle, a hoop, right? And they're chanting this song. Water it, nurture it, hold it. 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 That seed, we can call it the first seed of remembering. That's part of the podcast episode I'm writing. Mm. Water it, nurture it, hold it. It's what it needs, and that is what that seed is. It's your most sincerest of sincere reasons as to why you are alive, exactly as you are. Why did you choose this longitude and latitude? Wherever you are right now in your physical body, but also, like, you know that when we, um, are born as souls, like, we choose particular longitudes and latitudes, you know? That's kind of one way to look at your birth chart. It's like this is I mean, not kind of, it, like, literally is. It's, like, based on the location where you were born, but not just physical location, but, like, time location. Uh-huh. The location of your time. And, uh And so that's your longitude and latitude. Why did you choose the quantum architecture of your first breath? That's like my practice in decolonizing astrology. We look at the quantum architecture of your first breath. Like, what is this whole multiversal longitude and latitude? Why did you choose it? Why did you choose to live out your life from this place? Okay, because that's what we're remembering. Why? And right now, it's just a seed. Okay, it's just a seed, and I think up until this point, especially, if we're going to look at the last chapter of Pluto and Capricorn, and you could even look at as big ages, right? That the age of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius was this. It was delayering, 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 getting to that seed, getting to that seed, getting to that seed, learning as humans how to sit here. And now, as we are in the womb of Pluto and Aquarius, we are in the womb of the age of Pisces, moving from the age of Aquarius to the age of Pisces. The womb is like, that's what it's like in the womb. Uh-huh. The delayering, the delayering, the delayering, delayering, and then that's a task, like I've had friends and colleagues, and healers that I like to work with have been saying this consistently to me over the last couple years. They've just been like, Shanga, your job right now is just like hold the line, hold the frequency, like hold the energy that is your medicine and that the planet needs right now. Just hold it, embody it, and it's hard, right? It's hard getting distracted by like a million things going on everywhere around me, right? Just hold the line. And that's where we're trying to hold, because I've found this place. Like I know how to sit here, but am I gonna how often during my day am I gonna get up from that place and run around and do a million other things because it's hard to sit here because I'm getting distracted or pulled by other things, right? And that leads me to the mind, right? Because we talked about what's it called? The heart was blue, grief. The spirit was white, silver. Um, and that's kind of like ease of movement, ease of expression. We talked about the body was purple, so ancient wisdom. Um, and then we talked about uh yeah, oh yeah, and so that ancient wisdom led us to this place where we are holding this seed of remembering, this seed of remembering why we are here in our bodies. Why do we choose this body, this lifetime, this physicality? Um, and so I went on that whole journey, and then trying to just connecting the dots, coming back full circle. Like that's why the body is purple, right? Is because me in particular, so used to like, I could be in any timeline, I could be in any dimension. Like, I don't know why I came here, but remembering why, finding that seed that needs to be watered today. We are entering this new era where we are finally able to sit here more consistently, and our job is now to live it out from this place. The previous eras, whether we're talking about the era of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, or Pluto and Capricorn on a more minuscule level, has been about learning how to come back down and sit here. It has been about shedding those layers. It's about learning how to say no, learning how to put limits to anything that isn't that journey of coming back down. And now we're here and we don't have to fight so much to retrieve it. We have it. Now our job is to water it, nurture it, hold it so that we can grow it and live it out. And so, why would you run away from that at this point is the mind, right? Because in the mind, I saw those three colors, right? I saw at first it was red, and then it was, um, then I kind of got it to orange, and then it was right at the end, it shifted into yellow. Um, so right away when I saw that my mind was red, I was like, that doesn't feel right. Like, I don't like it when my mind is red. That's when I'm in sort of there's too much it's overheated, right? There's too much, anger, there's too much, like, chatter, there's too much, passion, um, and I knew I needed in that moment to just let's try and bring in um a frequency that is more in sort of collaboration with the rest of what's going on in my body. So, in the spirit of self-assessment, right? Like right away when I tuned into the mind, I was like, "Oh, my mind's trying to run away." My mind is like getting caught up in the anger. Um, and we want to sort of just tone that down a little bit or help the mind come back to peace. Um, that's really important for me personally. And so I was able to get it to orange, which I was like, "Okay, that's better for me." Orange represents wisdom for me. Um, but then right at the end, it was like, "Okay, we're gonna shift into yellow," because yellow for me is about real peace of mind. Um, yeah. And then in the center, we had the rainbow, which, represents sort of the essence of everything for me. And, it represents, my queerness too, my ancestral queerness. Hmm. So that was our self-assessment. So already I think there's like a few different messages coming up that are really important for our time that are, the equinox is speaking. Um, One is just self-assessment. Okay. So I feel like this message, if we're going to unlock like what's happening through this transmission, self-assessment is an important thing to remember. Do not skimp on your protocols and practices around self assessment. Do your self assessment before you step into anything, um, before you do anything important, even if it's to sit down and write, even if it's to sit down and be with your sacred work, if it's, you know, about how you're going to spend your time and anything you're going through in your relationships. Don't forget self-assessment. And I feel like there's a reason why we're like, you know, honing on this um so much. It's because the message I'm getting is like it might be sort of easier to slack off right now because the consequences of not being in self-assessment like aren't too drastic, you know what I mean? Um but once things start rocking and rolling, you really, really need like these kinds of tools will be so much more important. And I'm feeling like if you're sort of in this situation where I am, it's like things are quiet right now, right? When things are quiet and gentle and things don't really look like they're changing, um, and they're kinda seem like, oh, it's just like how things always are, you know? It's easy to feel like you don't have to prepare for how your life is gonna change, and for the changes that you've been wanting and praying for. It does, we've been talking about doubt, for a lot for doubt has been coming up, a bunch of times that in transmissions that I've been sharing on the podcast or on this YouTube channel. When we pray for something and we're like, "Well, things aren't changing and it's not coming through and I don't have any idea when it is." Well, that's fine. It's easier to like not prepare for it. It's easier to not live as though it could happen at any moment. And ancestors are like, it could happen at any moment, right? Like this is what it's like to be in the womb of something, to be in the death portal of another. Things could change at any moment, right? Your life could get bigger and busier and louder, and you know, numbers could go up at any moment, right? Um, so work on that self-assessment right now while things are quiet. hmm Um, if you know there's a life that you have to take care of on the other side of this portal, because I'm seeing like a new parent. I'm seeing a new parent take care of a baby. Like, you know how quickly things are gonna change once that happens. So, take care of some things now, okay? Get in the habit and the rhythm of it right now. So, self-assessment was one thing, and hold the frequency was another thing. It's like, remember what you're remember that you're holding a seed. Remember that when you find the reason, when you feel the reason, when you remember the most sincere of sincere reasons as to why you are here in your life, don't abandon don't abandon that part of you that knows. Don't abandon that sincerity. Don't look away. Don't run away just because it's not fully formed yet, because maybe it's not manifested throughout every part of your life. You don't see it everywhere around you. Don't abandon it. Whether it's an idea, a creative project, however your most sacred, sincere desire to be alive is going to um, express itself in your life, relationships, desire for community, like whatever it is that's so dear to you that you long for, don't abandon it right now just because it's not everywhere around you. Know what it is right now. It's a seed. And I see a seed, it's like a giant purple egg. Water it, nurture it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. When I birthed the Ancestors Writers Room, like, almost a year ago, um, that video, it's called, It Turns Out It Was About Friendship After All. It's an earlier YouTube video, on my channel. That's what came out in that message, right? It's that we are holding something that has not been held in so long. We are remembering something that has not been held in so long. You think about what it's like to not be held physically when you need to be held, and how many of us have just learned to go without being held, whether that's emotionally or in our relationships or actually just physically. Um, that's a reflection of how this seed feels right now. It needs to be held. So hold it. Even if it's small right now, even if nobody else can see it, don't abandon it. All right, well, I guess that was our story, because it's like, it's already 30 minutes that I've been talking. Um, Is there any I'm gonna ask the beautiful collaborators and co-creators who've been telling this story with me to just, let's do a little coda, let's do a coda for this story. Show me a coda, um, just to wrap up this transmission, right? Where we told a story, we saw a story and we found the medicine within it. We found the things that we need to hang on to and remember. So, what's next? Show me a little coda. Oh, ah. Okay. The first thing I started to see was, like, all the colors and all the directions starting to swirl. Mm. It's like there's these different parts of the altar that has been trying to that they've been insular, right? It's like, "This is what we do in the South. This is what we do in the West. This is what we do in the East. This is what we do in the North," and we just do our thing. And it's like, "Yes, but we're also" Backstreet Boys, "incomplete." Sorry. We're incomplete if we're not collaborating with one another, and so there's a desire to get out of that insular place and then collaborate with one another. So, when that collaboration starts happening, that's when the medicine is gonna be flowing more, your life is gonna be in flow more, there's gonna be more movement, more activity, more excitement, more good things coming in, more opportunities, more, like, left, right, and center wow gifts. And that really can't happen while it's like zing, 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 right? It's like that really can't happen while all these pieces are kind of insular. We need like we need a way of we just need that to start happening, and then we're going to start seeing what we really need in our lives, like um dance more thoroughly. We're gonna see it more in sort of everywhere we look around our lives, so it's that kind of dance that needs to happen. But right after that so I started to see the directions and the colors wanting to come together, but they didn't, and then what I saw instead was a little bird, a little blue bird. Um, It looks actually like a finch to me, but the finch is blue, and what kind of blue? How do I describe it? It's like a bright, sky blue. I know, like, it's like, what is the color of the sky? But, I don't know how to describe the blue. It's just, it's like it's a crayon that's like one of those the bright blue crayon. And the finch is this bright blue color, and just this small little bird flies up to a tree and sits on the branch and just sings. And this bird is like such a small bird, and you'd think that a small bird would have a small voice, and some people would think, yeah, that's just a small voice and it's not really being no one would hear it, it's such a small voice. But when that bird sings, it's like it doesn't matter who thinks his voice is small. When he sings, it just fills the entire world, and the world itself hears him. The trees, the wind, the sky, the clouds, the river, the creatures in the river, the birds, the big birds, the mountains, the flowers. Everyone hears this bird. Everyone. So just sing because you have something to say. This kind of goes to what I channeled in the last episode 4. There's there's something in you that has something to say. And these colors, directions are not going to come together in beautiful collaboration until this they actually can come together right now. They could. There's nothing in their way, but they're yielding. They're yielding. They're pausing. They're like, "We're going to wait. This bird has something to say, and we just want to give you as much time as you want to say it." I'm going to leave there before I start like weeping on YouTube, right? So, we're going to end there. Thank you. Let's just take 5 breaths again. And I want to in these 5 breaths, I really want to honor this bird. Whoever that bird is in you, whoever that bird is in our collective, whoever that bird is in me. Let's take 5 breaths again and give our energy to this bird. Let's give this bird our witnessing, our, praise and applause and adoration. Like, we're here to listen to you, okay? We're here. Wow, it's just sitting at a most amazing concert, right? And just giving your love to the one who's singing their heart out. So let's do that for this bird. Let's just give our energy and love to this bird as we close. And that is exactly the medicine we need for this fall equinox portal. Okay. So, and we'll do the directions again. We'll do heart, spirit, body, mind, and life. And we're going to give it to this bird within ourselves and in the collective. Okay. Breath 1, heart. Breath 2, spirit. Breath 3, body. Breath 4, mind. Breath 5, life. Thank you. Enjoy your day. All right. I'll see you next Saturday at 11:11 a.m. for another broadcast of Saturday morning cartoons. Until then, peace.